We are in Cook County, Illinois. My brother and I own a small business that we built from scratch while in college, and we are doing quite well. Recently, our manager left us to move out of state with his wife. He was and is a good friend of ours for a long time, and he'd been with us since we started up the business. Until now, we've been hiring from among people that we know, or at the very least on the basis of recommendations from people that we know. There are many benefits to this, not least because we know who we're dealing with, and knowing who you're dealing with, liking them and feeling comfortable with them is just as important as, if not more important than on-paper qualifications. To our dismay, we had a rough time finding people who we not only liked, but could do what needed to be done. So, we posted an ad online. Of all the junk we got, one application really stuck out. He didn't give a phone number and said that he didn't have social media to link to, red flag, but he was well qualified and I liked the way that he wrote, so I scheduled a meeting. As soon as he came in and introduced himself, it became apparent to me that he had misrepresented himself in his emails, and within 5 minutes I was absolutely sure that he wasn't getting hired. His qualifications were good but I didn't like him, and he wouldn't fit in, so it wasn't happening. I rushed the interview along and got him out of my office, thinking that my actions had communicated my disinterest. We wound up promoting one of the guys that worked for us into the vacant position the next day, and easily replaced him in his previous role 2 days after that. About a week after the interview, the guy came in and asked about the job. I told him a version of the truth, that he didn't seem to be a good fit and we have already filled the position. Instead of graciously accepting what he should have already known, this guy had a tantrum. He accused me of not hiring him because he was black, called us racists who would rather hire a less qualified white man over a black man with an MBA, and said that it's obvious that we discriminate because all of our employees are white, and there's no excuse for that in Chicago. I told him that the reason that he wasn't hired was because I didn't like his attitude and I didn't think that he was a good fit, and that going to school and getting pieces of paper aren't the only things that make someone qualified. I then told him to leave before I called the police, and then he threatened to sue us and called me a racist bitch. Does it sound like he has any grounds to sue us? Do we have grounds to sue him for slandering our business? I could really care less about the accusation itself, but it can hurt our reputation. I am asking this here instead of going straight to a lawyer, as lawyers can be quite expensive. If it seems like we may need a lawyer, we'll get one, but we don't want to spend the cash if it's nothing. Regardless of what goes on in our heads or what my brother and I say in private conversation with one another or with our wives, we have never given any public indication that we discriminate in our hiring process. Every instance that we have been in a situation of having to turn away a bad fit, we have always given a plausible reason and haven't ever been stupid enough to say to them what we say to ourselves and one another. The composition of our workplace relative to the demographics of the area can be explained by the fact that we mostly hire from amongst our friends, aka family, but I don't think that it need be explained, since as a private entity we aren't bound to any sort of racial quota.